number 8 of Randy Starts a Side Hustle. I got a treat for you guys today. I got an unbelievable individual. This guy is a leadership consultant and coach. And he likes to be called the genie because he's going to help you, achieve your heart's desires, at least lead you, okay? I have special guest today, Mr. Keyen Lage. Keyen, welcome to the show, man. I'm excited, brother.
Yeah, Randy, thanks for having me, man. I think we're going to stir up some really good conversation, bring a ton of value to the viewers.
Absolutely, man. I'm pumped up. When I found out you were going to be on the show, I went on your website. I was like, oh, my God, this guy is awesome, man. I'm excited. Yeah. Let's start with tell us your journey from NFL player to becoming a leadership consultant and coach to help. You deal with big-time CEOs and big shots. I was looking on your website. You just don't help your everyday guy. You're working with some players in all kinds of different industries. I read all about what they say about you. It's pretty strong, man. I was impressed. I was like pumped up when I saw, this guy's going to be on my podcast. My people are going to be in for a treat, man. I'm excited, bro.
Yeah, definitely. I think it starts with, ever since I can remember, I've been relatively consciously driven towards what I want. So when I was in 3rd grade, I knew I wanted to play in the NFL. So I was doing push-ups by myself. My parents never really had to push me. It was always something I just went after. And so I would say by definition, I've always been a high achiever. So I can relate to a lot of the people that operate at really high levels. And so due to me being that high achiever, I got all the way to the NFL, had a neck condition to where I never got to play a game, which I got all the way there. And then literally in 24 hours, I got told I'd never be able to play again, which was definitely a tough experience, but taught me a very valuable lesson in that nothing that I ever accomplish will bring me a certain level of fulfillment that I'm looking for through the accomplishment of those things. So through that, I was like, well, if nothing that I ever will accomplish will bring me the fulfillment that I'm looking for, then what will? And I picked up this book called The Biology of Belief by a guy named Bruce Lipton. He talked about being able to create your own heaven on earth and being able to actually feel that heaven without waiting until there's a destination achieved to feel that way. I'm like, okay, well, I want to be able to do this for myself. And so I knew that my finance degree that I got from college, once football was done, was not going to bring me the fulfillment that I wanted. So I said, what will? And I said, well, it's probably creating this life for me and creating a life for other people. And the first step was asking myself, well, what do I want to do separate from what I feel like I should do, have to do, or need to do based off of my friendships, based off my family relationships, based off societal pressures? What do I want to do? And that was help people be able to become more connected to themselves, to be able to create what they want with their life. And so I figured, well, what is that for me right now? Well, I could get into personal training. I know the physical body very well. So that was my outlet into the industry. It would have been hard to just jump in right away. So I was like, well, let me just do that. I know the physical body very well. Let me start there. And then from there, I moved to Miami from South Dakota. I'm a small town kid. It was a big change, but nevertheless, I loved the stimulation of a big new experience, and then dove headfirst into personal training at a gym called Equinox. Got bored doing the personal training, got obsessed with internal health. So I started helping people with autoimmune conditions and different digestive disorders. With first starting with myself, I was jacked and in great shape, but I had a lot of gas and heartburn and bloating that I didn't know how to deal with. So I got obsessed with learning about how to fix that problem, then started helping other people. Quit my job at Equinox, went online, scaled the product to be able to help people with those different autoimmune-based conditions. And then realized that a lot of the physical ailments they were experiencing stemmed from something much deeper from the mental emotional standpoint. And this is my chance to fully go all in on helping people with the more mental emotional mindset type of work outside of the physical body and the internal health side of things. So I then went headfirst into helping a lot of my clients that had some of the physical ailments, and started being surrounded by a lot of entrepreneurs, being one myself. Started finding that a lot of them had some different fulfillment issues in the process of becoming successful that I felt like I'd mastered pretty well at that point with achieving my lifelong dream, realizing it wasn't going to bring me the fulfillment that I wanted, and then finding what fulfillment actually looks like on a day-to-day basis, so helping them. And then I started doing that 6 years ago, and ever since I've worked with different types of people of all different backgrounds, depending on what I'm inspired to do during that season. And this most recent season, I've been obsessed with the masculine-feminine dynamic, not only in relationship, intimate relationship, but also within ourselves, the masculine feminine that exists within every single one of us, which ultimately determines the success that we have in our life. Because there's certain times that's necessary to be able to tap into more of a feminine element of ourselves and interaction, and also a masculine element of ourselves. And if that dance is not mastered within us, then it's very difficult to get what we want. So summed up, that's my story. And that brings me to today.
That's pretty strong, man. You had to step up, get that news, and you stepped out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
That was huge, man. That I can't even imagine that you spent such a long time working so hard to get there. I read what happened. You got there, they did an MRI, and bam, all of a sudden, it's over.
Yeah.
And you had to step back. What am I going to do now? That's huge, man. You've done great.
Thank you. But dude, honestly, I cried my eyes out when I got the news. It was a complete shock.
Yeah.
But after there was the initial emotional response, there was a certain level of freedom that came with it. It was like, I can be and do anything else that I want to do.
Absolutely.
And so there was an excitement that came with it, the opportunity to be able to recreate myself. And now there's this massive chunk of the pie that's gone. I can now fill that in with something new. I didn't know what it was, but there was an excitement about what it could be. And I think a lot of people that have very pivotal moments in their life where something comes to an abrupt end, whether that's a relationship or whether that's a job they need to leave, and it's easy to go to a place of feeling a little more hopeless and despair and not knowing what to do. But if you can shift that perspective to, I can do anything now. Like, I could literally be with anyone. I can do anything that I want to do.
That's the attitude.
That's it. And then naturally you're going to attract things that allow for more of that good feeling to come up. But if you stay in that place of the despair, then it's not, nothing good is going to come from it. But I honestly never did. Like, I just don't think my mind's programmed like that. I don't have that in me.
You have a fire.
Yeah, and so that's where a lot of high achievers like to work with me, because I know what it's like to operate in that state of constantly moving forward and constantly having to go get something and make things happen.
You gotta be excited, man. You're like excited all the time. I thought I was excited all the time. When you walked in, I was like, holy cow, this guy is blowing up with energy.
Yeah, but I think a lot of my ability to be so excited about life is my willingness to go into times when I'm not excited, right? Like going into the times when I'm not feeling good about myself and giving myself that permission to really like sit into that and experience it and process through it. And through allowing myself to do that, it allows me to be more excited and increase my vibration, contrary to what a lot of people might say, which is to avoid the feelings of discomfort and avoid the feelings of sadness, avoid the feelings of anger and frustration. I decided to go into it. And through that, a beautiful byproduct of that is excitement. It's not me trying to do anything or be any type of way, but it's more a byproduct of allowing myself to feel comfortable and confident with the uncomfortable feelings as well.
Yeah, we gotta make ourselves uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
We have to make ourselves uncomfortable.
And if we can make amends with some of those more uncomfortable feelings, and we don't try to avoid them and do activities to get away from them, but instead allow ourselves to really sink into them and feel them and process through them, it can allow for us to move past them. But I think the natural way of being a human is to avoid those feelings. It's like, well, I have to move forward. I got to avoid those uncomfortable feelings. But the real power of truly moving beyond them comes from being able to actively process through them.
What role does your self-transformation play in your coaching process, both for yourself and your clients?
Yeah, well, I'll always be my number one client. Above any client that I have, I will always remain and be my number one client. And that's just how I'm hardwired, honestly, is to constantly be evolving, constantly shooting for more and pushing my comfort zone and to challenge norms. Like, that's just who I am. So I figured, why not be in an industry that I could get paid to consistently do that, right? So my clients pay me to go deeper into understanding myself more in very complex situations. And that allows me to just be me at a higher and higher level. So I'll always be my number one client, because that's just who I am, is to always be assessing and evaluating myself and where I'm at. Like, that's what it is to be in my mind, is constantly, I don't want to say judging myself for not being somewhere, but constantly pushing the envelope of, okay, I'm here, but that I could also get there. And that sounds really fun.
Do you read a lot?
I go through seasons of reading a lot.
Yeah, so do I. I listen to a lot of books too.
Yeah. So
what was that book that you mentioned? I want to get that book.
Yeah, The Biology of Belief.
By who?
Bruce Lipton.
Bruce Lipton.
Yep. Yeah, he's like the grandfather of something called epigenetics, epi meaning above genes. So how our environment, our perception of our environment ultimately plays a role on how our genes are expressed. It's fascinating. So basically, if you have cancer in your genome, it doesn't mean you're going to get it. The environmental factors and how you treat yourself and how you think ultimately determine if that element of the gene or that version of the gene is expressed. We don't have to go deep into that, but that's Bruce Lipton, the father of epigenetics.
Yeah, I can't wait to read that. That sounds good.
Yeah.
I like it. Share a specific success story or transformational moment from your coaching practices that stands out to you.
Well, there's so many. Is there a specific criteria or type of transformation or like area of transformation that really resonates with you that you'd like me to share on that could help me?
I've made a change in my personal, how can I say, group of habits that I've changed actually in the last 30 days, especially because of doing this and, you know, getting on here and helping others with their side hustles. You know, how can I not do what I preach? You know what I mean? So I've stepped up my game so that the people that are watching me, you know, can see the change in me, because man, I'm changing so much just in the last 30 days. Bro, I can't sleep. I wake up at 2:00 in the morning excited because I've made some major changes. I've started working out. I've made a few different changes in my life, health-wise, that have taken me to the next level, okay, that I wasn't before. I feel like now I'm going to go to another level in my life, and spiritually, relationship-wise with my family, and then financially. You know what I mean? I've made a couple changes. Talk about someone that you ran into that already had some level of success, and you helped them change or correct something, and they went to the next level.
Yeah. So I'll talk about a client that was consistently making upper high 5 figures a month to moving to over 6 figures a month in doing less work, which is pretty cool. I think this relates to the side hustle concept as well, which I'm excited to dive into a little bit. But in today's world, it's so easy to be a squirrel, right? It's so easy to find the new, bright, shiny object that is going to be the thing that's going to help us make more money, have more success, be better in relationship dynamics. But oftentimes what's happening, I think, with the general population, this is what happened with him, was there were so many things coming at him that he wasn't able to fully pour the primary energy he needed to into the thing that he should be. So there was energy being consumed by these other side projects that were actually taking away from him being able to be in an open space of building and expanding his own project. And so something that I really hone in on with people is, let's get rid of everything except your main thing. Like, let's just focus on that, and that's it. Get rid of everything else.
Right. Let's pick a lane and bowl.
Correct.
Right.
And so when we did that, we got rid of all the other distractions. He was able to truly focus on that and go all in, and be able to then create much more success within that. And then as a byproduct, instead of finding a side hustle that was separate from his original business, he finds something that contributes to the health and betterment of his primary business. And so I think what a lot of people do is they'll jump onto the bright, shiny side hustle because they can make some passive income, but then neglect their primary thing and never get that going off the ground. And so my advice, and you correct me if you think this is wrong, but this is what I've generally found works best for a lot of people, is that avoid the squirrel effect and go all in on your foundational project, and allow the extra that comes from that to be distributed into things that contribute to the betterment of that project. So for example, if I'm a coach, I would be investing into different projects for maybe different podcasts that I could go on, or being able to be in a partnership with a company that would benefit my coaching business, right? So it might be a different hustle. It might be me pushing a product, but it's still contributing to my primary foundational thing. So I think people oftentimes will go off into doing other things too soon before their foundational thing's really built and established. And that can take away from the health of that original thing. But it's very easy with so many bright, shiny objects in today's world. And that's why focus is one of the most profound commodities I think anybody can really embody, like I said, in today's world, because it is so rare because of people's attention spans. People on TikTok, people on social media constantly going from one thing to another, but fail to realize that the only way to really have long-term success in anything is by investing in a foundational thing and going through difficult times with it and coming out on the other side.
100%. 100%. I talk about that all the time too. And I talk about creating multiple income streams, but you got to do what he said. For example, there's some of us that have a traditional job. For me, I'm driving Uber right now and Lyft. I do it, a couple hours in the morning, a couple hours at night, and then I work my hustle. But I got one hustle. I have multiple hustles that I want to do, but I got one hustle that I put 100% of my energy into, that one business right now, until I get it creating an income for me, that it's creating income for me while I'm sleeping.
Yes, that's a long time being in a business to get into that place.
It takes time. When you get your stream creating income for you while you're sleeping, now you can say, okay, I'm going to start working on this one now.
Yes.
And you can start pouring some of your energy while you're still monitoring the other one on a daily basis. Then you can start focusing on another lane, but you can't be in 3 or 4 different lanes and none of them are working for you yet.
Yes. Yes. And I think what makes it very difficult for people to go all in on one is because they don't know themselves. They hear somebody else say, hey, this would be a great opportunity. Oh, I should open an Amazon store.
I'm so glad you brought that up.
I should open an Amazon store. I should do e-com. I should be a coach. I should, like, there's so many different opportunities that people have to be able to work online or to have side hustles. But the biggest thing that determines success, I think, in the long run with a side hustle is how connected is it to you and what you're super inspired about in your life compared to what's this person on this ad telling you that they think you should want. And the only way to really know what that is through understanding yourself more. If you want to go all in on something and have the capacity to do so, you have to know yourself and what you truly desire for yourself. Otherwise, it's just going to fizzle out. So people that live life in a very superficial way, going from one bright, shiny object to another, I'm not really surprised that they do that, because I can't imagine them being any other way if they don't take the time to stop and understand themselves at a much deeper level. And if you want, we can go deeper into that.
You remember the great John Madden, right?
Of course.
I was listening to him talk one day, and he was talking about when he was a kid, when he was young, and he was talking to his dad, and he was telling his dad that he wanted to go get a job. He wanted to go work. And his dad said, listen, you don't need to work, man. Keep doing what you're doing that you love. Keep doing that. And when you need to get a job, then you go out and get a job. And he continued with the football, and he continued doing what he loved his whole life. He never had to get a job. It was never a job. It was always something that he loved. It was a passion. I've made it a point that if I'm doing something, it's got to be something that I love to do, that I wake up excited about it, that I'm going to, even driving, bro. I love doing it. I love people getting into my car. I'm very outgoing. I talk a lot. I have to tell myself, dude, this guy doesn't want to talk. Shut up.
Yes.
I'm telling myself, like, this guy doesn't want to talk. You've already tried a couple of times. He's not talking that much. Stop talking. You know what I mean? That's the way that I am. I love what I do. I love the business that I'm in. I love helping others achieve their dreams, getting to where they're looking to go, giving them as much information possible that they can pick what helps them to help you get to where you're going to go. But you got to love what you're doing. My wife, for example, she had a gentleman that had retired, okay, from her job, from where she works. I don't want to get into that, but he had retired. He was older. He came back after he had retired, and he said, I want to work part-time. And my wife says, don't you like sports, man? Aren't you like a sports guy, like into sports? Why don't you get a job working for the Dolphins or the Marlins or get a job at the stadium? Bro, he listened to her, and I see this dude on Facebook all the time, loving life, pictures, doing the job that he loves to do. So what? He does it exceptional. You do it at an exceptional level because you love what you do.
Yes, absolutely. But unfortunately, a lot of people have been disconnected from their deeper sense of desire, oftentimes due to their upbringing or parents that did not fuel that, right? John Madden had a dad that said, hey, dude, like, keep going after it. Whereas a lot of people, they don't have that. Yeah. They don't have people or parents that are in a place where they're emotionally sturdy enough to be able to create the safety for their children to feel safe or confident enough to be able to pursue what they really want. And I also come from the background that John Madden came from. My parents always really pushed me to follow whatever it is that I truly desired. And so that fire, that childlike curiosity, or that excitement for life, and that permission I could give myself to ask myself, okay, what do I really want, never faded away because it never got stepped on. So if you are someone that has a difficult time being able to tune into what it is that you want, it probably could come from a place of someone at a younger age stepping on the desires that you had and taught you that what you really want is not okay. And so through analyzing that, you can begin to disconnect or disassociate from a voice that's telling you, hey, you shouldn't go after what you want. Hey, you shouldn't really pursue what you desire at a high level because it's not you. And I think that's the first step, is being able to disassociate from that voice and recognize that, hey, it's probably not the true voice inside of you, but a voice, and I should say a ghost of a voice of the past, of someone that was very influential in your life. Even coaches, even teachers, like, there's different people that shit on people that it sticks with them. It sticks with them like crazy. Like, one teacher said something to someone, that really made them feel like they weren't enough or weren't worthy of pursuing what it is they want. Now, there's other people that had teachers to say that, and it fueled them and inspired them and made them go off and do what they want to do, but there's other people that it didn't. So if you are someone that has a difficult time being able to tune into the desires that exist within you and pursuing those, analyze your past a little bit and see, hey, where did this voice come from? So you can see for yourself that it's not really your voice, which allows you to start to disconnect from it.
I heard something the other day about Michael Jordan, and this person was talking about Michael Jordan, how he was giving a speech. I don't know if he was getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. It was something huge. It was a big speech he was giving, something important that he was getting. And Michael Jordan doesn't mention people much. He mentioned one guy. He mentioned his coach in high school that cut him from the team. That one guy. That was his energy. That's what fueled him, man, to get to the level that he's gotten, because it's not about, a lot of times we focus on the money. It's not about the money. We can't do something, because, Amazon is going to make me umpteen thousands of dollars every month, or this is going to make me this much money. It can't be about the money, man. The money, if that's your focus, success, money, it's going to be tough. It's going to be hard, don't you think?
It can be. You have to know yourself. Are you someone that's driven by money, or are you not? Because I really think there are people that are driven by money.
Well, I don't know if you're driven by money. I'm bougie. I like nice stuff.
I do too, but
you know what I mean?
I do too, but I'm not someone that's driven by money.
Right.
I'm driven by status. I've always felt like I've loved being in a position of power and influence.
Cool.
And by intimacy, like connection. So I can't use money to fuel me.
Right.
Because that just won't work.
Right.
So it's up for you as an individual to know, okay, well, what are the things that really do fuel me? For me, I love being in a position of status. I love being in a position of leadership. I love being in a position of power. Why? Because I trust myself. I know I'm a great leader. So I'm driven to put myself in those positions. Also, I love intimacy and connection. I grew up with a family that was very loving. So I have a positive association with intimacy and connection. And so that drives me as well. So when I focus on those two things, that allows me to do what it takes to be able to make more money. So, but if you are someone that is driven by money, that's great. But you have to know yourself. If you're not someone that's driven by money and you try to do something for money, good luck. It's going to fade out.
It's going to be tough.
Yeah. But I also like to comment on the Michael Jordan thing too that you brought up. He had the coach in high school that cut him. I think Michael Jordan is not a very happy person. I think there's evidence to support that. I think he's an alcoholic and has a lot of different mental issues that are unresolved. And that's why I don't agree with using negative feedback to drive you, because I think that's a form of being disconnected from the self and isn't something that will provide long-term fulfillment. So it might fuel you, like a anger or frustration might fuel you to get you to a certain place, but you'll forever be in lack if you're using that as the primary thing that continues to drive you throughout your life. There's a point where you eventually have to say, okay, well, this is no longer about proving this person wrong or showing that I'm capable or worthy, but about what is it that I truly desire, separate from who I think I have to be to prove somebody else wrong.
You're so right, bro. You're 100% right. Because if you look back at Michael Jordan's career and you look at some of his huge games, a lot of them are because somebody pissed him off on the other team or said something to him or, mocked him or did something to him, tried to show him up during the game, and he stepped it up because he used the negative.
Well, exactly. And that's where what a lot of people don't understand is through my time of really analyzing and studying high achievers is that some of the most successful people in the world are people that are driven from a place of lack. By actually not feeling good within themselves, they're constantly having to try to prove to themselves or somebody else that they are worth a damn. And so I'm not saying that's wrong that they're pursuing things at the highest level. I think it's great.
It fuels them, right?
Right. But we have to be able to see that because there's a lot of people that don't experience that lack and they're fulfilled. And so naturally, when there's a certain level of fulfillment that you have in your life, you're going to lack a little bit of fire to move towards something.
Yeah.
But then again, there's a different operating system that allows you to be able to cultivate that fire separate from being able to
like that one
operate
better.
from lack,
Yeah.
which is something that most people don't understand or know.
I like that one better. I like, you did something bad to me, but I don't want nothing bad to happen to you, man. I want you to be successful. I want you to have an amazing life. I want you to do good in your life. Just because you did something bad to me in my life, that's not what I want for you. That's not the way that I'm programmed. You know what I mean? I don't fuel myself with that. I fuel myself with more. How many people can I help get what they want, man?
Yes. Well, and when you say that, and that's what I revert back to is I hear someone that might say something like that to me, and it's not even that I wish them the best. ignore it.
Yeah, let it roll off me like a duck.
Because if I start to use that, haters are my motivators. I think that's so fucking lame.
Yeah, man.
Haters are my motivator.
Soul,
it's like, what?
No.
Like, that's so lame.
Mm-hmm.
So if you disregard the haters and reconnect with yourself. Disregard the haters, reconnect with yourself. Okay, where am I at separate from what these other people are saying about me? Whether that's positive or negative. Because there's also the other side of it too, where people get a lot of positive reinforcement for doing something that's not really what they want, which I think is also a different category that we could talk about. And a lot of people that are successful, they're constantly validated for something that is no longer what they want to do. So there might be someone that's famous for something, or a certain way of being, or let's say Matthew McConaughey, for example.
I like him, man.
He's the man. I love McConaughey.
His book. Have you read his book? He's awesome, dude.
I resonate so deeply with McConaughey.
Man.
Like, he is someone that I really admire.
That guy oozes love.
Yes. But he went from rom-com guy to doing different types of productions that weren't that. And so he had to go through a period of time, he talks about in his book, he had to reject all of those roles, and nobody wanted him for anything.
Yep.
So for the longest time, he received so much positive feedback and positive reinforcement for doing that, but he realized that it no longer lit his soul up. Yep. He's like, hey, I can't do this anymore. Yep. But I can imagine it's really difficult when there was so much praise that was given and so much affirmations to go keep doing that thing.
And he didn't want to.
No, but he didn't. And he stayed aligned to what his heart wanted. And he stayed in it long enough to be able to see it all the way through and get some incredible gigs after all was said and done.
He's an amazing guy.
So that's what I'm talking about, is there is oftentimes where people will get a lot of positive reinforcement for a certain way of being, and they'll keep doing it, not because it's truly what their heart desires, but because they're getting positive reinforcement or getting acceptance or love for it. I think it's very important, if you are someone like that does get a lot of love and acceptance for what you're doing, be able to check in with yourself and say, hey, like, is this still what I want? Is this still what really like excites me? And then be able to make a decision from there separate from the validation that you're receiving from people.
I said this the other day. We got to love ourselves, bro. I hear you talk about intimacy. We got to love ourselves. We got to love ourselves, man. Treat ourselves good, before we can love others and treat others well. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, intimacy is an inside job. Like, if I'm not able to be intimate with myself at an emotional level, at a mental level, at a physical level, it's like, I'll talk to guys and I'll literally be like, dude, when was the last time you were just like by yourself and just felt your own body? Like, and even just like kind of like rubbing over your body. You might say it's gay. I don't really care.
Yeah.
But it's like, just we're intimate with yourself and just
I do it in the sauna when I'm all sweaty and slippery.
Right. And so, and when oftentimes, like, how are you supposed to have intimacy with a woman if you don't even have intimacy with yourself?
Right.
And dudes are intimately retarded.
Yes.
When it comes to women, I hear it all the time, guys' inability to be able to just be not a fucking, but actually just like the touching, the kissing, the real slow intimacy. Guys are incapable of doing that because they're not capable of being intimate with themselves. Cool. Not even too cool. They just don't know how.
True.
They don't know how. I'm not saying that's good to do all the time, but having a certain level of intimacy, going deeper into your own emotional space, feeling your own emotions, feeling yourself physically in your own space, that can give you the capacity to be able to connect deeper with other people.
That's good, man.
Yeah.
You
have to be willing. Yeah, I know. You have to be willing to go to those places, but dudes don't know.
Yeah. And
also, to be able to do that, I suppose you have to be out of a certain level of scarcity as well. Yeah. Or like, if you're just trying to make shit work, like, it's going to be difficult. You're not going to prioritize it. Yeah. But if you want to have intimacy with people and have really deep, positive connections, because like friendships and intimacy, like, it's never been an issue for me. It's been easy for me. And I think we live in a world that is very much lacking that. And like, COVID exposed a lot of people in that way where they're like, oh shit, like, I need more intimacy. I need more touch. And it's like, I can get that easily. Absolutely. Why? Because I understand these things.
I'm like that. I have a lot of really strong friendships, man. And my friends and I tell each other, hey, bro, I love you, man. Have a great night.
And that's it right there.
We tell each other, yes, I love you, bro. I miss you.
Yes.
Like, you got to be able to say that to
that's some intimacy.
Not just girls, you know what I mean? You can say that to your brother, to your friend, you know?
You have to. We need that. We need that.
Man.
And I have a lot.
It's healthy, man.
Yes, and I know a lot of things, but man, I would not be fulfilled in my life if I didn't have the close, intimate relationships with the guys that I do.
Me too, man. I agree with you 100%.
I would not at all. Like, I'm not a lone wolf. I'm not someone that can go out and just do everything by myself, even though I've done a lot of things by myself, which has been good for my own personal expansion.
Together, everyone achieves more, brother.
That's it.
Team.
Yeah, Absolutely. But if you don't know how to connect with another dude and all you know how to do is be like, oh, what's up, bro? Like, how you doing? Let's go have some drinks. Like, you're not going to be able to feel fulfilled in your life. So being able to be that guy that takes the time to be intimate with himself, to be able to feel comfortable enough expressing love to other men is really going to be the thing that's going to bring you a lot of fulfillment.
Absolutely, man. Man, I never thought that this podcast would be going in this direction. This is
Come on, I told you we can dance wherever you want.
This is awesome. I love it, brother. This is awesome. Let me tell us about some principles or strategies that you believe that can contribute to personal and professional success. Besides love, some of the stuff we've spoken about really that we can assist people with their side hustles, with their personal development.
Yeah, this is so like I'm just gonna always go back to this. You have to take the time to understand yourself. Otherwise, nothing will stick. Like you won't be able to commit to anything. You won't be able to feel extremely driven to anything if you don't know yourself and where you're at in this specific season of life, what you're excited about, what you're inspired to go towards, what scares you right now in this season of life. Because if you can understand those things, you can know where to direct your energy. And when the energy is directed from a place of pure connectedness within yourself, life is limitless. And that's God. That's the God energy that you're capable of tapping into. Amen. So if you're tapping into the God energy, then there's attraction that happens and you bring things into your life. And you could say it's woo, I could go into the science of all of it. It doesn't matter. But that's what happens. It's unreal what happens when you're tapped into a deeper sense of who you are, what you want in the season, and giving yourself permission to go after it. You have a certain level of help from another power that exists beyond.
Man,
where
you're awesome. I'm going to get some coaching from you, brother. I went on your website today and I filled in all the information.
This is what I do. I literally
I
connect people to this, to the God energy.
Take me to the next level, man. You are fantastic, man. This is a major treat for you guys. I hope you guys are taking notes.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, man. I'm glad you're here.
I wish I could give more like practical, but I'm not practical.
That's good.
I don't play in the practical space. And that's where it's like when I connect people to themselves, the practical handles itself. And I think that's a big fucking problem in the world today is everybody's looking for practical little tips and tricks to get them what they want. But if those tips and tricks aren't connected to them, then good luck being able to be consistent over a long period of time.
I got a good one here for you.
Hit me, baby.
How do you stay up to date with the latest trends and developments in leadership and personal development?
Well, the first thing that comes up is like leadership hasn't really changed. I don't think it's changed. I think it's, yes, times have changed, but I think the foundations of leadership are relatively constant. So yeah, social media has changed and like platforms have changed as far as the capacity to speak to more and more people at
instantly
greater capacity.
Yeah.
But I don't think leadership's changed that much. I don't think people have really actually changed that much. And I think if we can understand that and you have enough conviction of who you are and what you want, then you can be an incredible leader. Now, obviously, there's a level of empathy, which a lot of people are teaching now, empathy as a skill, which I don't maybe necessarily agree with. I think it's something that has to be more embodied, but I don't know if you want me to give like exact things of what I think it takes to be a great leader. I think having a concrete direction in where you're going is one of the most powerful things to be able to have and who you are and what you represent. But I think it's also difficult to do that if you haven't given yourself space and time to acknowledge that you don't know what you want and you don't know who you are. And you go through a period of time of really deconstructing yourself as far as deconstructing who you have been based off of your environmental upbringing when you're younger. Most of the time, we are who we are, not because it's who we truly desire to be, but because it's who we've adapted to become based off our environmental circumstances at younger ages to be able to survive whatever environment we were in. Not necessarily meaning it had to be bad, but whatever environment we grew up in tends to mold us into the person that we are. So being able to question who we are and who we've been allows us to be able to step into doing more things and trying more things that really resonate with us more, which will then allow us to be able to embody more of who we are, which allows us to show up with more conviction, which allows that as a byproduct of osmosis to flow into other people. Because what really allows people to follow others is conviction. And if I know who I am and I know where I'm going, people feel that. And so naturally, they're going to want to follow.
Absolutely.
But I couldn't become the person that I am if I didn't give myself permission to deconstruct who I have been. And I think that's a very important step. I don't know if there's any, maybe I'm being a little broad in my explanation of that, but I don't know if you have any questions about that.
like deconstruct, like figure out
who you are
what
separate from who
drives
you
you.
have been, right? Like I had parents that were like this. I went to school with friends that were like this. And I was this way to adapt to those circumstances to best survive in those. That's how we're all created,
Right.
is to adapt and survive, especially, the age of 1 to 7. That's when we're being molded into who we are, essentially, to be able to survive whatever environment that we're growing up in. And so if we can recognize that isn't us, that was what we had to be able to adapt to those circumstances, then we can give ourselves permission to step into maybe who we're supposed to be. That's where I talked about earlier. It's like questioning who you are and allowing yourself to dabble in different things separate from who we feel we have been, whether that's a job or a relationship or a certain way of being that you've done things. It can really help with being able to feel more concrete in who you are, allowing you to be more of a light and a magnet for people that want and desire leadership. Because I think that's what allows me to be such a magnet for guiding and leading people, is the conviction in knowing who I am through all the time I've spent deconstructing who I have been and really learning what I want separate from who I have been.
You let your light shine, bro. You don't worry about
Well, it's
what
more
other
being
people
present.
think. If they're worried about it,
I
they
do
gotta put
though.
their shades on.
I do though.
And
I
you
do
let your
worry
light
though. I
shine.
do. Yeah, but I do. But I do worry. I'm
You
very,
think about you
100%.
You think about what other people think of you.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's-
you see
it's-
me, I'm the opposite. My give a shit button, that shit's thrown. I threw that shit in the lake a long time ago.
Hey, that's incredible.
There's a few people that I care who think about me. I think about God. I care what he thinks about me. I care what my mother thinks about me, my daughter, and my wife.
I think that's amazing.
But
Yeah,
but the rest of it, like really,
yeah.
I can't, man. You should see some of the comments that I see that people say to me. I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, I put a little heart, bro. I don't even let it bother me.
Yeah.
I move on. I can't.
Yeah.
My attitude is I can't let nobody get near it, man. It's fragile. Don't touch it. I got to keep it on point. So I can't be concerned about what everybody else thinks about me
Yes.
to get to where I'm going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm
Absolutely.
on a mission. So I can't let other people affect my attitude by worrying about what they think about me.
Yeah.
Now, if you give me some constructive criticism, hey, listen, bro, I don't like the way you said that. Maybe you should try doing it like this. And then I'll be like, that's good. I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
That's different. You see me, Keyen, I ask, give me criticism. I can handle it. Tell me how I can get better.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Don't
Yeah.
tell me what a piece of shit I am. Don't make fucking videos while you drive. I'll make videos whenever the hell I want to make them. I got to make them while I drive because I'm driving all the time. But I'm driving and making my videos.
Yes.
What, am I going to listen to that guy who told me don't make videos while you drive? I'll never make videos. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So you do care what people think. You don't have the ability to not. However,
Good point.
in the face of it, you show up still authentically as you'd like to.
Exactly.
And so just because there's the tension there,
You got a good point there.
it's just right. The expression in your voice when you just said that tells me that it does affect you. Okay, it
See?
does.
I have to be careful.
No, no, you don't. You
No?
just expressed it from a very pure place, and that was amazing.
Okay.
But the way that you expressed that implied that it did
Man, I
poke
can
at you a
work with
bit.
You can make
right?
me better, bro. Damn.
Come on, hey,
This guy's
that's what I'm here for.
fire. This guy's fire. You got to go on his site and sign up for coaching with this guy. He is going to take you to the next level.
Hey, but hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Right? I'm a fucking softie. Like
Me too,
A
bro.
gift-
I'm always crying in my car. I'll start thinking about shit, tears are rolling out
Yeah,
my eyes
right?
all the time, almost every day by myself there.
Yes.
All the time. I'm the biggest softie. That's why I'm so careful with my attitude because I know how I am.
yeah, and that's why it's hard. Like ever since I can remember, man, I've been so sensitive to the thoughts and feelings of other people. Like always. And when I was a very, very young kid, I wasn't like the normal reckless little boy that kind of just did whatever and fuck shit up. Like I was always very conscious of how everybody else was feeling. And now football was an amazing outlet for me because that was a place where I had permission to be reckless, right? In the ways that I was so controlled outside of football. But I've always been very sensitive to feeling what other people feel and think about things. And so my journey has been being able to be with the tension of what other people are thinking and feeling and allowing myself to continue to go down the path of what is most true and authentic to me, separate from what it is that I'm feeling. So I'm feeling from them. So oftentimes, because I am such an open channel for emotions of other people, it can be a little difficult for me to be able to discern, okay, what is mine and what isn't. But as I've gotten older, I've gotten much, 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 much better at it, which allows me to then be able to disassociate from some of those thoughts or emotions that are coming up in me to be able to remain authentic to what I know I need to do and how I want to do it. So just because I do what I want to do on a consistent basis and people on the outside looking in might be like, hey, like this guy does what the fuck he wants and says what he wants, it doesn't mean I don't still feel the tension. I do. I'm just present with the tension and still allow myself to do it anyway.
Good. What would you advise? What couple strategies or tips would you give a young entrepreneur, somebody just coming up, somebody that's looking at a side hustle they want to start, or maybe they're ramping something up that just started, that maybe they still live at home with their parents, so they have the opportunity to be able to focus on their business, on themselves, and not have to worry about chasing the dollar bill yet because they live at home with mom and dad, and they can, man, I preach this all the time. Get your deals going young. Don't party now. Save it for later. Party when you're our age. So you already have the financial success taken care of, the dollar bill, not chasing it anymore. You know what I mean? Now you can focus on, you know, I tell people all the time, I say it all the time, I want to make a lot of money, Keyen, so that I can spend the rest of my life giving it away. That's what I want to do.
Beautiful.
I want to give it away, man. I want to help others. I want to bless others. I want God to use me as an instrument, man, so that I can go out there and bless as many people as I can. You know what I mean? What would you say to a young entrepreneur just coming up? What should they focus on? How working on themselves? You know, tell us a little bit about that. What would you advise someone that's not as, you know, mature as you know, at a level where we are, at the age where we are? You know, someone young, 20s, getting started, coming out of high school, college.
It's the most rewarding, painful process you'll ever go down. And I think being an entrepreneur isn't for everybody.
Correct.
So I would first really ask yourself, okay, like, am I someone that generally likes to go out and create something new, separate from the mainstream way of being? Or do I want to just support somebody else that has something that they have a vision for that I feel best in? I think that's the first thing that you should do, is really ask yourself that, because I think it can be really bright and shiny to think about being an entrepreneur and all the cool things that come with it, especially because of how glorified it is today. So ask yourself, hey, am I a contributing member to somebody else's vision? Is that where I best fit in? Or am I someone that has a vision and I want to execute my own vision? So I think it's really important first to be able to do. But then also, if you do come to terms with the fact that it is you that wants to fulfill something of your own vision, that it's going to require you to have to confront so many different scared parts of you that, if you overcome, will bring you so much fulfillment that it's unreal. But don't expect it to be easy. And don't expect it to be something that you'll immediately have success overnight with.
No.
If it comes fast, it's going to go quick.
Yes,
and I think it's very important to understand that the process is long and the process can be very tough, but all that exists is the process. And I think that's what really, like, I understood through getting that feeling full circle to what we talked about in the beginning of with football, where I was sitting in the cafeteria in Kansas City watching practice. And I mentioned that it didn't bring me the fulfillment that I thought it would. And I went down the path of trying to figure out what exactly that is to be able to find fulfillment. And it's coming to terms with the fact that there literally is zero destination. Like that doesn't exist. There's things that I'm shooting towards that I go after and then I accomplish it, but there will always be another thing. And that's just what it is to be human. That's just what it is to be human. You find something, you shoot for a goal, and then you find another one.
And then you go for that one.
That's it. So if you can get so lost in the process of the ups and downs and just submit to that fully without there having to be any type of incredible result, then if you do that long enough, you will inevitably have success. And I think it was Alex Ramosi who talked about, it's not about being able to be successful as soon as possible. It's about whoever lasts the longest. Like, can you last the longest in the industry? Can you stay in it longer than anybody else? And if you can do that, you're probably going to be successful. Yeah. So making it about the process entirely, getting lost in that, knowing there's going to be ups, knowing there's going to be downs, but knowing that through all of it, your character as a human is going to up level substantially, because it'll be the most challenging and rewarding thing you'll ever do.
Amen. And I believe fear is one of the biggest ones in the beginning. That's the one the young people.
Throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's throughout the whole.
You got to face it
there's
head
levels.
on.
It's new levels, new devils.
Yes,
it's always like, as you continue to ascend, even when you're making good money, it's like there's always next levels that you have to overcome. And I think that's what I love more than anything, is identifying. That's it. That's what I love, finding and identifying those parts of me that are afraid to be able to move on to the next level. And so,
and then you confront it.
That's it.
And then you overcome it.
And that's literally all I like to do. There is no end game for me. There is no long-term goal. Like, I don't set long-term goals. I never have.
Brother.
I've never
fire, man.
I never have. I've never set goals like the new year because I understand that it's just always a consistent process, just finding what I'm scared of or afraid to step into and just doing that over and over and over and over and over again. And one day I'll die and that'll be it. But just consistently doing that over and over again. That's all there is.
Day by day, in every way, we're getting better and better, right? Constantly changing, evolving. This guy's amazing.
Thanks for having me, Randy.
Yeah, man. Let's wrap it up. Let's give us a little tidbit there of a little bit about you and just fire people up before we get off here, man. Because you got me fired up. I can go on and on talking to you about this. The whole relationship and the whole love and the whole intimacy thing is the thing that really got me the most, because in my life with my friends and my family, that's the way it is, man. I am intimate. I have the love is my priority. My friends and my family, my relationship with the Lord, it's all about love, man, and intimacy. And I think that if we can connect to that part of ourselves, we can take our life to another level.
Yeah, definitely. But there's also an element of love, though, too, and intimacy. When you do, and I'll leave us with this. This might be like a mic dropper that could have definitely a further explanation, but I think is very good. Oftentimes, if we need love to be able to get what we want in our lives, it can actually take away from deeper levels of intimacy. So by showing up in a way with people that you care about and love, in a way of trying to not cause controversy or keep the water smooth or to always make sure things are good, it can actually create disconnection. And so by being able to be loving someone so much that you can go in and be honest about what you're really experiencing with them, when you have a problem with them, when there's an issue in the relationship dynamic, when you feel that you're not fulfilled, and having those conversations is one of the greatest levels of love that we can have. And so in the process of loving so hard, make sure that doesn't disconnect you from being able to have the maybe difficult conversations that may need to be had where you're not fulfilled, because eventually, if those aren't addressed, then there will be some type of breakdown in the system or something much bigger in the long run that could be an explosion, which I think often happens. So when those little things aren't spoken about and dealt with because there's an idea of fear of creating controversy or an absence of connection. So real connection comes from not being afraid to go into disconnection. And if you can do that, then the depth you're going to be able to have in your relationships will be greater than the majority of people.
Yeah. Keyen Lage, guy. Keyen Lage. What a name. This guy's fire, guys. Look him up. I'm going to have all his links on all my platforms so that you guys can go check him out. You can sign up for his coaching. He's got all kinds of different packages. I was on his website. He offers so much. This guy will help you get to the next level. I'm going to sign up with him and get coaching from him. Thank you so much for coming on the show short notice like this, man. I really appreciate you.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
It was a pleasure having you, man. Good stuff. God bless you, man.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Fire!